What's going on YouTube? Today we've got the 2023 Nissan Rogue in the new Midnight Edition.
And we want to know, after living with this Rogue for the past week, is this the best all-round family crossover for you?
Let's go ahead and find out. Alright, so let's get things started here with the spec dump. Now, Nissan recently upgraded what is underneath the hood for this Rogue. All models are now coming with a 1.5-liter variable compression turbo 3-cylinder. That's producing 201 horsepower, 225 pound-feet of torque, and it's paired to the latest version of their Xtronic CVT.
Front-wheel drive or optional all-wheel drive, and this Rogue is rocking best-in-class fuel economy for a non-hybrid at 33 mpg, for front-wheel drive 31 mpg combined with all-wheel drive.
All right, we're gonna, of course, test out that in the real world and see how it stacks up, but before we get into that, let's go ahead and take a look at the exterior design. Now, when it comes to the exterior design, this is probably the biggest reason you would want to choose the Midnight Edition. Of course, Nissan has offered this on many of their other models, and the same formula applies to this Rogue for 2023. That's the fact we've got a lot of nice blacked out elements on board to give you that cool, sporty look. Your V-Motion grille, same shape as always, but it is blacked out all around the outside edge. Of course, you still have that new Nissan emblem and the black mesh on the inside. And your lower fascia also has the same gloss black finish that runs all through here, where it would previously be a matte black or a silver on the platinum trim level. Now, if you're wondering what Midnight Edition is built off of, it is built off of the SV. So that is the second trim level in the lineup of the Rogue. So this is going to be a more affordable option as well. And let's go ahead and talk about the headlights. You do have full LED headlights just like every single Rogue. So down here is your main headlight unit in a separated housing. It is a reflector LED for low and high beam. Up top you have an LED daytime running light. However, your turn signal is incandescent, and you will have to go up to a higher trim level to get fog lamps. Now, as we go around to the exterior design, Nissan hasn't exactly gone rogue compared to the rest of the segment. It's a very handsome design, but it's also very inoffensive, you know, just a nice conservative look in the back.
And as far as some of the design elements, the SV Midnight Edition does spice up some of the elements. You have a blacked out Rogue branding through here. You have your wiper. And let's go ahead and check out the taillights. Are all three elements of these taillights LED? Let's go ahead and see. The brake light is a check. Reverse light, that's no. And the turn signal is also going to be incandescent. So you're looking at 1 out of 3 elements are LED, and that goes for all of the trim levels of the Rogue. Dropping down to this lower area, this is going to be blacked out for midnight duty, so I do really like the way that looks. And you're going to be able to tow 1,500 pounds on every single Rogue model.
And talking about our wheel options, you just start out with a 17-inch alloy on the S trim level, upgrades to an 18-inch alloy on the SV trim level, and then specifically here with the Midnight Edition, that, of course, gives you the nice gloss black finish on this alloy to make it look really good, particularly with the Boulder Gray paint color on today's example. You do have 19-inch options on SL and Platinum grades. Now, as we rise up to our mirrors, you will find standard blind spot monitoring on every Rogue and heating on the SV trim level and above.
Now, here at the side of the Rogue, we're looking at an overall length of 183 inches, which is right on par with the vast majority of the segment. And as far as some design elements, we do have rugged matte black wheel archings. We also have blacked out window surrounds on the lower part. And they went rogue with the design because we do have a chrome piece up here. And then as far as your roof is concerned, this is actually the cheapest way to get the two-tone roof on the Midnight Edition. There are going to be 3 available exterior colors. You have black, Boulder Gray, which is what we have today, or white. And if you go for the latter 2 color options, it will be an extra charge to have the two-tone combination. And I do want to discuss your safety systems because that's very important for a family crossover like this. And for the Rogue, you're going to get most of them as standard on every single model. And if you go for at least the SV trim level, that's going to throw in all of them, including your adaptive cruise control and lane keeping assist.
Now, before we get inside, let's go ahead and see how you get inside. So you are going to be able to get inside with It's standard intelligent entry and remote start on this model since it's based on the SV trim level. And as you can see, this is an updated key fob for 2023. Now to open up the door, there's not a sensor behind the handle, so just press the button. That will unlock it. And welcome inside this Rogue Midnight Edition. Now there's not as many changes, of course, as there are on the outside, but there are some special touches. One of those things is going to be related to the seat specifically. When you choose the Midnight Edition, this is going to upgrade you to a black leatherette seat versus the normal SV is going to come standard with a cloth seat. The seat itself, though, very, very comfortable. These are Nissan Zero Gravity seats, and we can say after a week, these are incredibly comfortable seats to set in. A lot of support on a long road trip. The leatherette quality is pretty nice, and you do have that color contrast stitching. As far as the seat adjustments, these are going to be 8-way power adjusting with 2-way lumbar support. Get inside, close up the door here, and let's start out by talking about the general cabin materials. Now, Nissan's done a good job, especially since this is based on a lower-end trim level, still having a lot of the nice features from the Platinum. Starting with our door trim, this is almost all covered in a nice leatherette material. You've got a double color contrast stitching across the armrest, as well as this entire center section. Across the top, we have a color contrasting brown soft touch plastic, and that is also going to continue to the upper dashboard as well, even the extreme high areas. If we move to the middle section, again, you're going to notice full leatherette covering with the stitching detail. We have a silver trim through there, kind of a black trim down the middle. It's not going to be leather padded along the console, but everything in here does feel really solid and nicely put together. Now we'll go ahead and fire it up with the standard push button start. But let's go ahead and get into the first-person perspective for a closer look at all the details of the cabin, starting with our gauge cluster. So this is basically your traditional Nissan gauge cluster. All the trim levels except for the Platinum get this setup, which has a 7-inch multifunction display in the middle instead of the full digital setup. That being said, of course, it does still contain all the typical expected information, and the resolution on board is pretty nice. As we pull back to the steering wheel, we do have a nice looking steering wheel design, flat bottom. It is going to be leather wrapped when you choose that Midnight Edition model. And we also have steering wheel heating on today's example because we have the premium package as well. Now, as far as the wheel itself, it is going to be manual, tilt, and telescoping. All right, let's go ahead and dig into interior storage though. Of course, being a family vehicle, that's going to matter a lot. And when we open up our center console, pretty decently sized. It's not humongous, but let's put it to the test with the coupons and see how things shake out here. They do fit in there, but you almost have to fold them in half, so not an enormous amount of space inside of this compartment, but never fear, Nissan is including a very large center pass-through. This is really where the biggest amount of space is, and you could slide easily things like a purse or something down there. And you also have a nice place for your phone to rest. It is rubber lined, but it's not a wireless phone charging pad unless you choose the Platinum trim level. Now, allowing for that center pass-through is the electronic shifter above it. Very simple to use, just pull back for drive. You can shift manually through some simulated gear changes on the CVT if you prefer. And then go up for reverse. When you go into reverse, you will be greeted with this standard backup camera here on the Midnight Edition, since it is based off of the SV. However, if you want the 360-degree camera system, you can get that by going for the SL trim level. And then for park, you're just going to press the P right on top. And behind it, you do have an electronic parking brake and auto brake hold. Now right behind that, you do have a drive mode controller. And as we go up the dashboard, the next place we come to are our climate controls. We do have a dual zone automatic climate control setup on board for this model. If you want a 3-zone automatic climate control setup, though, you can get that. You just have to choose the SL trim level or above. Now, if you care about the niceties with that and in terms of the camera, I would recommend choosing the SL instead because it does cost the same as the Midnight Edition, which has the appearance on the outside mostly. Nevertheless, you do have 3-stage heated seats. Those are standard on the SL trim level and above. We do also have them with the premium package on this Midnight Edition. And let's go ahead and come up to the volume knob next. So the Rogue is available with 3 sound systems, 4 speakers on the base model, 6 speakers on SV and SL, and then you've got the Bose 10-speaker sound system on the Platinum trim level. We've got that middle 6-speaker setup, and we'll go ahead and give it a sample now. Overall sound quality is very good. Even though this is not a branded sound system, it will certainly meet the needs of the vast majority of people. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and also talk about the main display now that we're up here. So what you're looking at is an 8-inch display. This is what's standard on the vast majority of Rogues, including the Midnight Edition. However, you can get a 9-inch display on the Platinum trim level or available on the SL trim level. Now, there are some differences to take note of between the 8 and the 9-inch display. Both of them have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay abilities. However, it's only wireless if you choose the 9-inch display, and the 9-inch display is also the only one that has built-in navigation. Now, kind of blending in with what I was saying earlier, the SL trim level does come standard with an auto-dimming mirror with HomeLink remotes, and it also comes standard with this panoramic sunroof. However, you can also option on this panoramic sunroof via the aforementioned premium package that we have today.
So here I am in the Rogue's rear seat, and this is going to be a very nice place to spend time. Let's go ahead and hop into our legroom figures first. We're looking at 38.5 inches of legroom, 39.3 inches of headroom. That is right on par with the vast majority of the competition. It's actually going to be larger than the Toyota RAV4, a little bit less than the all-new Honda CR-V, but this is a really large amount of space, guys. You're going to definitely benefit from that. I did bring my handy-dandy ruler so I can measure what it's like behind Drew's seating position. Let's get it situated here. Between my knees and the seat back, we're looking at 8 inches. So that's a really good amount of space, guys. I'm 5'9" for reference. Drew is 5'8". Now, as far as some of the other features we have going on, Nissan's going to really nicely do you up here. We have standard vents on every single Rogue. So even though we're on one of the more basic trim levels, we do have vents in the rear, which is rare for this segment. If we drop down below that, we're also going to have 2 USB ports. One's a USB-C, one's a USB-A charging variety, so that's nice as well. Additionally, we're going to have a nice center armrest, 2 cup holders inside. One thing I do want to point out is that rear seats do not recline, so do keep that in mind. And then turning to your door trim, the door trim is also going to have a pretty unique feature. You notice this right here, we have a rear window sunshade. That's something I'm pretty sure this and the Mitsubishi Outlander, I believe, are the only 2 in the entire segment that even offer that, and to have that on a more basic trim level is quite impressive. As far as the materials are concerned, though, we have leatherette on all of the middle part, on the armrest portion as well. We have a bottle storage down in the very bottom, and I'll let Drew back up and show you just how wide this door opens. At the beginning of the video, we asked, is this the best family car for you? Well, Nissan is making sure that you're going to be able to load in any child seat or anything, because that door opens at like 85 degrees, so you're going to have plenty of space to load that in. Now, walking up to your cargo area of the Rogue, this of course is a very important part, but in order to get back here, you will notice that we do have a power tailgate on this model. That's going to be an optional feature. If you go for the premium package, you will get the power tailgate. Now, as far as the space is concerned back here, you're going to have a lot of it. We're looking at 36.5 cubic feet behind the second row. As you can see, we do have the second row actually folded down. So with all the seats folded, you're looking at 74.1 cubic feet as a maximum. That's very much on par with the segment. It's definitely at the upper end of the segment too. It's going to be a little bit larger than the Toyota RAV4, a little bit less than the CR-V, but definitely in the top 5 in the segment. Now, as far as features back here, I do want to mention this. We do have a floor that can lift completely out. You have a spare tire up underneath of that. Little storage cubbies on both sides. One thing I do want to mention is that no handles to fold the second row, so you will have to go actually up to the second row itself to fold it. And I did bring my handy dandy measuring tape so we can see how far it is from the back of the seat back to the rear of the cargo area. We're looking at 70 inches. So that means in this Rogue, it's probably approved for a 65-inch TV or so to be able to fit in the cargo area. All right, guys, so we're behind the wheel of the 2023 Nissan Rogue SV Midnight Edition. And as usual, we're going to be talking about the acceleration, the transmission, the ride quality for this model. And we're going to get our signature Car Confections sound level reading and talk about our airball and slam dunk. But first, let's get a hard acceleration.
All right, there we are, 60 miles per hour.
Very nice.
Yeah, so
it's kind of surprising, honestly.
it is. This is a pretty spiffy feeling crossover. We were just talking about this. It's kind of the prevailing thing that we have noticed living with this over the week is just how torque-rich this engine is.
Oh, yeah.
And, when you're in those low RPMs, just how much it really can kind of throw you back in the seat a little bit. It's nothing in this class is like really fast, right? But this one gives you this sense of speed when you first take off that is uncommon in the segment.
Yeah, it's almost a little touchy at the front end. I will say at a red light, you're almost going faster than the flow of traffic, so sometimes you have to push the gas and then hit the brakes a little bit because you're going a little bit faster, which is odd for this segment, but it does make this feel a lot faster than the vast majority in the segment do off the line, that's for sure.
Right, it's kind of a little bit of somewhat of an illusion in a sense, because, the torque is going to die off as you get up higher in RPMs, but definitely feels spiffy. Take off again here as I go around this corner.
Yeah, I'd say it tapers off around $4,000, like the torque feel. But most people are going to keep it within the first, 2,500 RPM on average. So you're going to really feel the torque every day that you live with this car.
Exactly. Now, in terms of the engine, we already, kind of discussed a little bit about that on the outside, but the 1.5 liter variable compression turbo 3-cylinder. So, you might be thinking 3, oh gosh, that's even less than 4.
Yes, 3 is less than 4 for you kindergartners.
Just kidding. But, you definitely don't have that sense behind the wheel. And if you wanted to know what variable compression means, because that's kind of a big word. Basically, this engine just can vary the compression ratio depending on if it's maximizing power or efficiency. It was something that was actually first brought into the Nissan Altima, which just drove by, but now it's here with the 3-cylinder on the Nissan Rogue. Now, if you're an owner of the previous generation of Rogue, with the 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, this does have 11% more horsepower and 24% more torque, which is why that's kind of the biggest thing we've been talking about so far. Now, the other aspect of the powertrain, which has also been updated along with the engine, is the CVT. So this is the Xtronic CVT, but it is the new generation. They've just, making sure that it matches with the totally different power delivery that this new engine has. They've done a really good job here. This is not the old CVT from 10 or 15 years ago from Nissan. This is very responsive. When you put your foot down, you get immediate power delivery. As you also noticed, importantly, for those of you who don't really like a CVT that much, it does have the shift simulation. So when you put your foot down hard, you kind of goes through those virtual shifts, giving you a more traditional feel.
I think it's relatively realistic, and most of the time, if you're just casually accelerating, you won't even notice.
Right.
All right, guys, but here we are on a state highway here going about 55 miles an hour, and this is really where the Rogue shines. You know, we've been having a little bit of fun talking about all the torque and stuff. We are car people, but most people who buy a Rogue, they're just going to be casually cruising down the highway and that type of thing. So how does this ride? Well, exceptionally good. The Rogue has always had fantastic ride quality, and living with it for the past 7 days has given us great insight into just how well it blends into your everyday lifestyle. You hit a bump, you don't feel it. These Nissan Zero Gravity seats are phenomenal seats. I have zero complaints. I'd say this is the very top end of the segment when it comes to ride quality. All right, and we're going 55 miles per hour, so let's go ahead and get our Car Confections signature sound level reading. We're sitting at 60.1 decibels. I honestly think that sounds a little bit high for what it feels like for me this week. Do keep in mind it is very windy outside.
I think that's distorting the figure quite a lot. It's just really windy right now.
The official reading is 60.1, but I'm going to say it's more like 58.
I mean, we've gotten lower numbers in the road before.
Yeah, we have. So I'm thinking that reading is a little bit higher than what it actually is, because it seems pretty quiet in here.
I would say it's equal to the rivals and real world feel for sure.
Now, in terms of your drivetrains, you do have standard front-wheel drive or optional all-wheel drive, and that's going to be for all of your trim levels. And the fuel economy, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, is class-leading fuel economy for a non-hybrid. So this is very impressive fuel economy. We're sitting at 33 miles a gallon combined for the front-wheel drive, so it's going to be 30, 37, 33. All-wheel drive is 28, 35, 31 as your rating. So those are very impressive ratings, and we have not fully gotten our week of testing in at the time of this video shooting, but we will put it in before we give this car back in 7 days for our real world fuel economy of blended driving on highway as well as city. Hey guys, it's Mason here, and we are at the end of our 7-day test of the Nissan Rogue. So let's go ahead and take a look at the fuel economy figures. So as you know, this all-wheel drive Rogue is supposed to come in at 31 mpg combined. And what are we sitting at after our 7 days of driving this vehicle? Well, we're actually going to be a little bit lower than that. We're sitting at 25.5 mpg after driving 280 miles, and about half of that driving was on the highway. The other half was in the city, so that should be actually pretty close to the combined fuel economy rating. So yes, that does mean we do have a bit of a discrepancy between our real-world fuel economy and the EPA testing. Now, if you own a 3-cylinder Rogue, go ahead and comment in the comment section down below if you're getting your EPA estimate. Now, Drew, I think it's time for us to do our Slam Dunk and Airball for this 2023 Nissan Rogue. What do you think the Slam Dunk is?
For the Slam Dunk, we have decided that it's going to be just kind of an overall value, specifically for this Midnight Edition. We wanted to, kind of keep the focus on the Midnight Edition, but it does have a lot of features baked in. You've got a lot of, family-friendly things. The Rogue is just very strong in that area. You've got that space that you're going to want. Like I said, you've got the features. Now you've got the design that you're probably liking, or else you wouldn't be interested in the Midnight Edition.
Yeah.
Comfort, nice powertrain. There's a lot of value baked into this.
Very solid, yeah. And as far as our Airball is concerned, it is a very solid product, but one thing that we think that Nissan could really improve is by offering a hybrid version of this. I don't know, the logistics or the engineering behind it, but if you strapped a battery to this 3-cylinder, it already gets best-in-class fuel economy for a non-hybrid. If you added the hybrid componentry, I feel like you'd get really impressive fuel economy, and The RAV4 has a hybrid, the CR-V has a hybrid, the Tucson has a hybrid, the Sportage has a hybrid. Most in the segment offer a hybrid, and I think that's a big miss for Nissan not to offer one.
Yeah, how about getting a hybrid that's like almost 50 miles a gallon? Gas costs a lot these days. Nissan, if you're listening,
yeah,
that would be a real winner. You'd be selling these so fast you couldn't keep up.
And lastly, I do want to mention the warranty for a Rogue. If you choose to buy one of these, you're going to be protected by a 3-year, 36,000-mile basic warranty, 5-year, 60,000-mile powertrain warranty, and Nissan does not do complimentary maintenance. So what's a Rogue going to cost you? Well, for 2023, the base trim level is going to start a little bit above $27,000. All-wheel drive is going to be a $1,400 upcharge on all of those trim levels. All the pricing is on the screen right now. And if you're curious about this SV Midnight Edition, you're going to base it off of the SV trim level. So that's going to have a $30,550 starting point, and it's a $1,500 option for the Midnight Edition. So that's going to be about $32,000 as a starting point. That does have all-wheel drive on this particular tester, and if you want to load it out like what we have with the premium package plus the destination, you're looking at $37,420 as tested. But guys, that's going to wrap up our in-depth review of the 2023 Nissan Rogue SV Midnight Edition. This certainly is a really great option in the family segment. As we mentioned throughout this entire review, this is a really fantastic choice. And also, I think the SV Midnight Edition itself is a fantastic trim level choice because it balances style with a lot of value as well. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.